Nigeria, by extension Africa, battles a growing youthful population and with little or no meaningful engagement leaves a ticking time bomb on our hands. We are a blessed continent with great wealth, both in people and material. Our focus on ways remains driving conversations that affects us all. Topics in the news, social concerns, politics, leadership, governance, empowerment, resource management, conflict management, finance, SME sustainability, technological innovation, food security, health, education, brain drain, our well-being, citizenship, and much more. Our goal is to continuously drive these conversations, keep them burning at the table to effect a positive change, both for our nation and continent. Ways, what are you saying, has a secret ingredient that completes the conversation every single episode, and that ingredient is you. Our past conversations shaped our yesterday. To shape our tomorrow, we must keep talking. So, I want to hear you. Be a part of our live conversations Mondays through Fridays. And let's all have our say. On the 28th of February 2025, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu signed into law a record-breaking 54.99 trillion national budget. The budget was revised twice from its original figure of 49.7 trillion. While the breakdown of government expenditure is publicly available, with security receiving the largest share, there is still no official breakdown of how the federal government plans to raise the projected 41.8 trillion revenue needed to fund the budget. It's a beautiful week on your favorite primetime show, a new episode, and yes, I remain your host, Osayua Mesali, and today we're discussing national budget, right, the 2025 national budget. We're asking, where will the money come from? It's the simple question. Now, our guest, Adejoke Akimbode, she is a senior research and policy analyst at Budget. She will be joining me much later. All right, remember, Ways is all about you. You are the wine Ways. So be a part of the conversation every single day. You can add your voice by heading onto our YouTube channel. It's at Official Upgrade TV. Hit the subscribe button, like, share, invite families and friends. Also, leave your comments as well. When we open the phone lines, I'll really love to hear your thoughts on this topic. As always, let me allow you ponder on my quote for the day. It says, transparency is not a favor to citizens, right? It is a constitutional and moral obligation of the government. And this was said by the group head of research and policy, Budget. So we'll delve into all of this much later, right? But first, let me run off on a break. When I come back from that break, I'll let you in on my news interest for the day. Stay with me. All right, thanks for staying tuned. So we're going to start off with the 2027. When I saw this thing, I said, should I do video on Instagram or I should just leave it? Let me just be watching because the thing is giving me a headache. 2027 coalition. So it says that Atiku camp offers Obi VP role. That's an insult in one-term deal. You know why I say that's an insult, right? Because, first of all, in the 2023 general elections, regardless of what INEC said, I really do not care. What Osayua Mesale is saying is that in terms of all the popularity at the various, and I visited nothing less than 10, 15 polling units, Peter Obi was way, 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 way ahead. Like, it was a battle between Labour Party and APC. There was no PDP in the radar. So Atiku's name was not mentioned in any of all those, you know. So I'm just wondering, and across board, we could feel the pause that the fight was between APC and PDP. So when I saw this, I said, what an insult. Somebody that, you know, gave a run for the politicians, you know, gave all of them a run for their money, and you're not offering him vice VP role. That's already too late, because I think you lost that, you lost the opportunity to make him your vice presidential candidate in 2023. And besides, I don't understand who is advising Atiku. We already had 8 years of, what's his name? President Buhari. Buhari is from the north. We already know that if our 12th presidency will be zoned for the next 8 years, which is 2023 tenure to 2027 tenure, it is, what's it called? It is supposed to be a southerner, right? So what is this, this crave around wanting to be president by force? But when I saw that picture, I think I just chuckled, or did I laugh out loud? I can't remember which is what I did, but I just said, no, this is very funny. But let me just quickly read, right? There are indications that the former Vice President Atiku may have offered the 2023 Labour Party presidential candidate Peter Obi a vice presidential role in a joint single-ticket term. Reliable multiple sources involved in the coalition effort who requested anonymity due to the lack of authorization to speak on the matter told The Punch that proposal was initially discussed during a meeting between Atiku and Obi early this year in the United Kingdom, and the insider disclosed that Atiku has committed to serving a single 4-year term. Obi has agreed to be the former VP's running mate. If Peter Obi tries it, to agree, all is obedience. Okay. Well, but no politician can surprise me in Nigeria. But I just want to say that beyond this, right, I think Atiku should understand that this game is not for him, right? He should just step aside and let somebody else that has the love of the people, right? Let that person take over. Secondly, he has lost Delta State. He's lost Akwa Ibom. He's lost, I hear he's lost Rivers, I'm not sure. Of course, Wike too here, he's lost a lot of states. Edo State, he's lost a lot of states. So I don't know how PDP is going to bounce back from this, right? And you're still proposing that you want to be the flag bearer, you want to be the presidential candidate. It's not going to work. It's not going to work. So I'm going to move on to my next story, right? Ban on sachet alcoholic drinks. You remember that this story had started way before, right? Where they said that they were going to ban the sachet alcoholic drinks. NAFDAC said it, so they said that it's going to begin now in December, which is good. But I'm still wondering how this is going to. Take full effect, because every time. That's the wrong story on the screen. So every time that I see, what's it called? You just drive on the road. On Sunday, literally, I saw a woman coming from church. She was holding one of those sachet alcoholic drink, to step down. So I don't know how NAFDAC is proposing, to fight this, because it's going to be a tough battle. But they've said that it's going to commence. Okay, so the director of the FCT Directorate, right, said that the temporary lifting of the ban was only valid till December 31st. They had kind of lifted the ban, but so it means that it's going to commence now. So let's see how it's going to work. I don't think it's going to be possible, though. I don't know. I don't know how it's going. Let me not sound like a pessimist, right? But I don't think it's going to be possible. And I feel like if you even ask me, the quantity inside that sachet, I think is still tolerable. So you don't start to have bus drivers having bottles of alcohol underneath their seats, because most of the people that take these things are bus drivers, they are conductors, the people that push carts on the road, all these NURTW guys, like literally all those people that are like, on the road. So I don't know how it's going to be managed. I just pray it doesn't turn out to be chaotic. So Biden, we saw over the weekend that Biden was diagnosed rather with aggressive form of cancer. So according to the statement, Biden's cancer was found to have a Gleason score of 9. That is grade group 5. So prostate cancer that looks very abnormal and is assigned the highest rating of grade 5 according to the American Cancer Society. The Gleason score often indicates the sum of the grades from the 2 areas in the prostate that makes up most of the cancer, but can also be calculated in other ways. Remember that he had left office in January of this year as the oldest serving U.S. president in history, and was dogged by questions over his health and the age and for much of his presidency. So he underwent surgery, according to the report, in 1988 for brain aneurysm, and in 2023 he had a skin lesion and a basal cell carcinoma that was removed from his chest. He had previously had non-melanoma skin cancers removed as well. So they said one of his sons, Bill Biden, died of brain cancer. So I think it's something that runs within the family. It's just so sad. I hope that he survives this, but it's going to be tough because based on the reports that I've been hearing and words on the streets. So Nance urges Seyi Tinubu to remain focused and ignore critics. They have called on the president's son that he should remain committed to his service to humanity and not be swayed by criticism. In a statement by the Nance Senate President, Usman Adamu, the student body advised Seyi Tinubu to ignore what is described as the distractions of political jobbers and clout, would I call them chasers, intent on derailing his noble mission. He noted that while the voices of mischief may be loud, they lack substance and are undeserving of any dignified response. The brilliance of a man whose heart beats for the people cannot be dimmed by naysayers, and he said, you cannot rewrite the truth with propaganda, nor can you derail a destiny anchored in service and goodwill. Mr. Seyi Tinubu has immortalized his name while still living and has done so while shaping destinies, uplifting lives, and creating legacies that will outlive transient controversies. It is indeed a paradox of our time that in a society where those who selflessly commit their lives to service ought to be venerated, they are instead subjected to cynical disagreements. Life as we know it often thrives in contradictions, and it is profoundly regrettable that a man like Seyi Tinubu, who has consistently embodied humility, benevolence, and sacrifice, is being mischaracterized by individuals who only stock in trade is misinformation and mischief making. Well, do I have anything to say? Nah. The only thing I would like to say is, and this goes to everybody, it's not just to Seyi Tinubu, the president's son, acts of kindness, acts generally that is geared towards humanity is something that, yes, you would always have critics, but I'll also say that it's something that cannot be, you don't need to say it to anybody. Like, I don't know, you don't need to prove it to anybody. That's what I'm looking for, right? If you are a kind-hearted person, if you're a good person, even the people around you, people will just keep singing your praises, and you don't have to do anything about it. But most times, what I see our politicians do in Nigeria, and every time they do it, the thing just, they use money, right? They use money to gather that praises. They use money to gather that, singing of Oriki, what they call it, all of those things. They use money to do that. And that's why I'll go back to the first story I took about Peter Obi. One of the biggest strengths that Peter Obi has is the fact that regardless of, he has called himself a very stingy man, right? Regardless that he's Akagom, right, which is supposed to be the abnormal in Nigeria, because the normal in Nigerian culture is that a lot of politicians are so generous, so that's why they are loved by the people. They're always gathering them. This one, he did not have to give shishi. That's what he said, right? And yet he was able to gather that kind of, what's it called, gather that kind of following. So I would say to Seyi Tinubu, if your work to humanity is genuine, you don't really need, like the person is advising, you don't really need to focus on the critics, but let your work be genuine, because it is only then that you can also have the genuine following and the genuine loyalty of the people that you are impacting. I think I will leave it there. All right, I'll go on a break. When I come back from the break, let's discuss our national budget. Stay with me.
Life is made up of moments, some that fill us with joy, others that test our strength. Welcome to Heartlines. This is our space to explore the highs and lows of human connection, the love, the heartbreak, and resilience that shapes our life. From relationships to friendships, parenting to partnerships, and so much more. Every week, we share stories and conversations that define us, navigating love, separations, the struggles of parenting, dealing with anxiety and managing the pressures and stress of life. Real conversations that bring us closer, helping us heal, grow, and connect. So join me Mondays through Fridays at 10 p.m. for Heartlines, the show where we connect hearts, have real conversations with real people, one story at a time.
The national budget is more than just numbers on paper. It is a blueprint for how the government intends to serve the people. Without clarifying, or rather without clarity on how the budget will be funded, citizens are left in the dark about the sustainability of government spending and the long-term economic impact. This lack of transparency raises major concerns, although the government claims that the increase in projected revenue stems from improvements in collections by agencies like the Nigeria Customs Service, the Federal Inland Revenue Service, those agencies, right? It has also not yet released detailed figures to back these claims. So concerns raised by World Bank is that in its Nigeria Development Update, as at May 2025, the World Bank described the 2025 budget as overly ambitious. It warned that failure to meet revenue targets could force the government to resort to the central bank's ways and means facility. And of course, it says that a move that could or would undermine monetary reforms and destabilize the naira. Yeah. So joining me to shed more light on the conversations around our budget, and we're asking where the money is going to come from, is Adejoke Akimbode. She's a senior research and policy analyst at Budget. Hi, Adejoke.
Hi.
Every time we want to discuss money matter, we are happy to bring you because as I am like this, even the terminologies I'm not conversant with. But why is it though, right? A lot of us are still just kind of detached from conversations around national budget. I know we have discussed it before. Why is it so difficult for us to start paying attention to our budget, knowing that the budget is supposed to be the foundation of what the nation, both infrastructure, all our recurrent and capital expenditures and everything is going to be built on that budget. So why don't we just want to pay attention to it?
Thank you. I think the first thing is disappointment, or let's say the major thing is disappointment. When you are expecting a kind of documents from the government and it's not coming early, then the document is released and you're not seeing what you're supposed to see or what is expected to be seen in the document. Citizens are disappointed and they just feel like, you know what, I'm tired of this. I really don't care what is going on anymore. So I would say disappointment. So people they've stopped paying attention to the budget documents.
Absolutely. So, okay, let's dive straight into the conversation. Something happened last week where the government came and announced that they had cleared off the COVID relief fund that was borrowed, right, from the IMF, that they had cleared it. I think it was $3.2 or $3.4 billion that they had cleared it. The only question I had in my head was, excuse me, sir, where did you get the money from? How did you clear it? You understand? Because these are the things that always happens, right? Nobody says you should not be ambitious with your budget, right? But the most decent thing to do as a government is for you to at least even tell us, okay, we generated XYZ probably from the oil revenue, because now these are people speculating that oil revenue, the subsidy removal, blah, 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 that was what they used, you know, to clear up that. But the government has not come to tell you that that is what they used, because they've not even told us how much was generated from that subsidy removal, right? So examples would be the 13.64 trillion that is allocated for your current expenditure, that's salaries and overhead. There's another 23.96 trillion for capital projects. There's 14.32 trillion that is earmarked for debt servicing. There's 3.65 trillion that goes to statutory transfer. So all of this money, right, where will it come from?
That's a very that's a very big question, because in previous years, you know, when the budget document is released by the government, there is always a breakdown of where the revenue is coming from and a breakdown of where expenditure is, how it is going to be expended, right? But the 2025 fiscal year budget only came with how the money is going to be spent, like you stated. But wherever the money is coming from, nobody knows. The documents do not have a breakdown of the revenue. They've only stated, like we previously mentioned, that we are getting more revenue from some agencies like the customs, the FIRS, but there is no explicit breakdown of the revenue, which is actually very, very, you know, unusual. Because in previous years, you would always see where the money is coming from, the amount that is going to be borrowed, the revenue that is actually going to be generated in the country. So no one, as of today, can really say exactly where our 2025 budget is coming from.
And I think, okay, it's so interesting because, like you rightly pointed out, previous government, it's even a thing to brag about, you understand? They will say, oh, my previous administration, they generated 10 billion, you know, from customs, but we were able to triple that, or we were able to quadruple that. Look at what is happening with some banks, some banking institution. The former, what's it called, MD of the bank, you know, with all the whatever, probably made, say, 10 billion. A new MD comes, part of his bragging right is to tell the management board, we moved from a 10 billion revenue to 100 billion revenue. And that's why we're able to, when we're telling you we need more branches, we need this, that is where the revenue would come from. And these are the areas that we were able to raise the money. So maybe we increased our asset management, financing, or, you know, all those kind of things. But we are not seeing any of this with this budget. You're just saying it. Right? And, well, some people have said that there is an overestimated oil revenue drive, that they said, okay, monies might come from oil, because the current projection is closer to, I think, 1.6 million barrels per day, not the projected 2.06 million barrels per day. That was one of the places where they said they were going to make money. But right now, they are not meeting the production that they said they will meet. Do you understand? So oil is one of the revenues, you know. But in your own, because this conversation, I don't even know how we're going to take it. If the government is not willing to open up to say, this is how they want to break down this thing, what do we do in return?
Really, what we can do is to, you know, keep hammering to the government that they need to explain to citizens how this revenue is going to be made. Because in honest truth, they are not doing us a favor by telling us, oh, this is where the revenue is going to be got. It is their, I would say, moral obligation to actually tell the country that, oh, the revenue is going to come from so and so place. So, but the government is trying to make it look like they are doing us a favor by even releasing these budget documents. We all know that the 2025 budget document actually was released very, very late. And it's something that over the years, the government have tried to, you know, go back to the fiscal year of January 1st to December 31st. But we've seen with what is happening with the extension of the implementation of the 2024 budget, 2025 budget is not going to start, implementation of this year's budget is not going to start till around July. So, which has actually disrupted the fiscal year that we tried to go back in over the previous administration. So government needs to understand that they have the moral obligation to actually be transparent in as much as they can with your citizens to tell us that, okay, so this is how much we project to make in to be able to fund 2025 budget. This is how much we intend to borrow, because obviously there will be some loans and borrowings, and we need to realize that we've come a long way to to try to see that, oh, they're being transparent as much as they can. But now going back to this opacity is what no one understands really.
So, Adejoke, I want to ask a very sincere question. Why? Because again, this is a question that we normally don't ask, right? If you really wanted to search through your mind, right, just based on the fact that you have done these kinds of things over the years and studied different kinds of administration, why do you think a government would not want to be transparent with the budget? What would probably be like if you had to do like a diagnosis? Why is Adejoke laughing? What would you think would be the things? Because me, I don't want to say it, but I want to understand. Because you see, my approach to these Nigerian issues, right, is I think I want to be asking a lot of whys. Because if we ask a lot of whys, we might arrive at the answer. And now, arrive at the root cause, and then we can now start to work it up to find a solution. Abi? So why do you think, in your mind, if you want to race through your mind, why would you think a government would not want to at least, break down this kind of thing? What would be the reasons? Or, maybe if it's just one or multiple reasons, what would be those reasons?
I would say it's very simple, right? If I'm being transparent with whatever I'm doing, especially as a government person, right? I want people to see what is going on in my office. But the moment I try to be shady with it, I don't want people to see. Then there's something I'm hiding. So basically, I would say there might be some shady things in the way they want to generate revenue, and probably they don't want citizens to, to start, how would I put it now? They don't want citizens to start attacking them even before they say, oh, they want to start implementation of the budget. There's something obviously that they're hiding for them not to release the revenue breakdown. You will always see, over the years, you always see a well-detailed revenue breakdown, even though maybe at the end of the year, they might not have implemented it the way, or maybe generated that revenue the way they've stated, but you will have seen something similar in the budget document. But for it to be entirely omitted in this 2025 budget is there's something fishy. There's something that definitely hiding from us. And I would say maybe the major factor is corruption. So, because if there is the revenue breakdown, of course, there will have been some backlash from the citizens. There will have been arguments all over that, oh, why is this figure like this and why is it like that? So there's something obviously that the government is trying to hide from the citizens.
Because you see, let me tell you why I asked that question. If I'm telling you there's no money, right? And maybe I am not showing you all the transactions that have happened, say, now so Nigeria get money rich. Is this how Nigeria is rich? Because again, that's one fear. I don't want you to note the extent to which, the wealth is, how much wealth we have. Or on the extreme end is, like you rightly alluded, I don't want to tell you where this money is coming from. When you see money, Abi? Because it is money that we use to do the work. Because it makes no sense that you do a budget and you are unable to break down. So when that, for instance, that IMF loan, when it was paid, most people were celebrating. The question I kept on asking, I said, I hope it is not the loan that they just applied for that was approved. They collected part of that loan to go and, pay this loan. Because we need to be sure where we are. Because every time you hear the government is borrowing, and yet you're hearing some kind of outrageous, projections that you, just sitting down in the comfort of your home, you find it very unrealistic. if we were running Nigeria as a company, right, at the end of the way they demand banks to bring the books at the end of the year, right, to the central bank, to say this is the, what's it called, the transaction and everything that happened, the financial year. It's the same way we're supposed to have, if we're running Nigeria as a country, have that entire breakdown. From oil, this was what came in. From this was what came in. But there are a lot of unrecorded transactions that go on in Nigeria. Right? A lot of unrecorded transactions. Take, for instance, our mineral resources, for instance. With the amount of things that are going on, we started now, as we got older and wiser, we started, understanding that some of these insecurities that are happening all over the place, right? It is as a result of displacing the owners of the land so that they can, steal from their mineral wealth, right? So there's just a lot happening. And that's why I asked that question. So if now we are seeing that the government is lacking transparency in how they intend to generate the revenue or the other revenues that they have generated in the past, what is the, what's it called, the current update on those ones? If we're not getting all of this, then why do we bother? Why are we wasting our time? Adejoke?
Well, I mean, like you rightly said, it's really annoying at this point. If we are, I would say, with this current year's budget, it's like we are going back to the Stone Age. We are going back to where we actually, fought to live. I mean, before they started releasing the budget documents, we know how much civil society organizations and citizens actually fought very hard for government to start releasing their budget documents. And it seems like we are gradually going back to that age again, because this year they removed the revenue breakdown. Next year, what do we know if they are going to remove? Maybe the expenditure breakdown. They will just give us figures and that is it. So it seems to me like we're going back to where we are coming from. And if they're not taking the power that the citizens have is going to be totally taken away from them. Because if you can only ask questions from the government from whatever they release to the public. So now nobody knows where the money is coming from, and everybody is asking where is the money coming from, and there's no response. There's nobody's. We don't even know who to ask. We don't even know who to direct the questions.
I was just going to ask you that. Who do we ask? Who do we hold accountable? You just took the words out of my mouth. So we don't even know who to ask now.
So because everybody's just lamenting, we actually do not know who to ask, because we're already used to seeing these figures in the budget document. So them releasing the budget and we are not seeing anything, initially the president had actually submitted a proposed expenditure of around 47.9 trillion naira, and it was later revised to around 52.2 trillion naira. And when the National Assembly actually increased this figure again to 54.9 trillion naira, without publishing any fiscal analysis to actually justify these additions, is really, really alarming.
That's sad. Okay, let's go on a short break, right? When we come back from that break, we'll continue the questions. Stay with us.
Tell us you're a Nigerian without saying a word. Energy security is one of the most pressing issues for many developing countries like Nigeria. And if there's going to be any meaningful progress, addressing our energy issues is non-negotiable.
I need to see light for my house. Make them do something.
Band A is expensive. I literally have to turn off all my appliances just to reduce costs.
We need light.
Introducing the Energy Outlook, your go-to show for everything energy. Every week, we'll bring you the latest insights, innovation, and in-depth analysis of Nigeria's energy sector. From policy discussions to regulatory insights, we will analyze the key decisions influencing growth and sustainability in the energy sector. We'll bring you the human stories behind the headlines, giving you a personal perspective on the broader energy challenges. Join me every Friday at 6 p.m. for the Energy Outlook, your guide to the future of energy, where energy means business.
All right, thanks for staying tuned. If you just tuned in, 2025 national budget is our conversation, and we're asking, where will the money come from? Please let's hear what you have to say. Remember, you can join this conversation. Send us an SMS or WhatsApp to 081-803-84663. You can also call our phone lines. Please, if you know where the money is coming from, call us and tell us on 07025007749 or 07014242420. Please, if you know where the money is coming from, please let us know. All right, Adejoke is still with me. She's joined me via Zoom. Thank you so much, Adejoke, for staying with me. This conversation, I don't even know what to say. Because I was just going to ask you, where would the money come from? It just shattered my, But we have to hold someone accountable, though, right? Because for us to sustainably fund the national budget, it has to be that there has to be certain kinds of priorities, right? The government must prioritize where the revenue generation will come from. We've seen how they've been talking about exports. They've been talking about the creative economy. They've been talking about a lot of things, right? So if we are clear that the government has prioritized probably these sectors, and this is where, and we have clarity on where the money is coming from, then we can also have faith that the government will deliver on their promises as to what is written in the budget to say these are the things that they would do, right? But quickly, right, if the government expands the tax base, how will this impact our revenue generation?
I know they've been working when it comes to expanding our tax base, it's something that the government has been taking very serious, which I must commend them for that. So, but it's not just expanding the tax base. They need to ensure that they are not, there's no leakages in the process of expanding the tax base. The revenue being generated through tax is actually going to the right pockets of the government. They need to simplify the tax registrations and even the payment processes. They need to maybe something like using digital skills, digital tools rather, and mobile platforms to reach informal workers, because I think a very large part of our citizens are actually informal workers, and there's a way that they can ensure that they get the right taxes from these people as well. But not beyond expanding the tax base is to ensure that the taxes that they get is actually going to the pockets of the government, not just some persons finding the funds somewhere.
What you just said, Adejoke, I've always argued about this NURTW, right, and how their method of collection. And, it seems like they're collecting so much money. I hear it runs in billions, right? And yet they collect it in this manner. Who ensures that all that money that is coming is not going to somebody's pocket, that it is actually going into the government coffers, right? That is one big, opportunity for leakages and corruption, because definitely I don't want to believe that revenue is everything is going into the government account, right? So will it be easy for this government to embrace, a more structured revenue collection system, given that they are already used to collection in this kind of haphazard manner, so that they can continue to get away with some of the things that you're doing? Do you think they would embrace it?
So embracing it is left for them, but is it doable? Yes, it is doable, but it is. I always say that one of our major problems in Nigeria is implementation. We are very good in dishing out policies, but when it comes to implementation, we really, really lack that discipline in the country. So if they say they want to stop this informal collecting of taxes, it is actually very, very doable. We don't want to do it. We don't want to implement that. I cannot answer that for them.
This is okay. You just know how to remove yourself quickly. All right, so I was going to say that one of the biggest things that I've also noticed is, the recurrent expenditures, right? I think it was last week, I was so upset when I saw that report that the Bauchi state governor was appointing, I think, 60 or 62 new special advisors. You understand? For already a system that is over-bloated, and you're still employing people. Instead of thinking of cutting down the cost of, governance, we're adding new portfolios, opening new, for how long can we sustain this? So how do we eliminate this unnecessary expenditure? Do you see the government having the willpower to want to reduce the numbers of, for instance, their aides, and all of this, some of them foreign trips, all those things that they do that continues to dip our debt profile to keep going deeper?
I think when this administration came into power in 2023, and the first announcement that same day was the removal of subsidy, and everybody was lamenting. I was like, I don't think it's a bad idea if only the government can actually cut the cost of governance. If citizens can see that government is also ensuring that from their own side they are trying to save money to for the country, I don't think citizens would be angry to say, there's no more subsidy and we're also, spending more money, in as much as government is also cutting costs. Government can actually, cut the cost of governance. If you take a look at the budget documents, year in, year out, you see some line items that keep repeating. How do you explain that virtually every year you see, furnishing of offices, buying of kitchen equipment, and you'll be wondering, we also live in our houses. We don't replace these things every year. So are you saying the one they used last year, what happens to them? Or are you saying they're trying to use those items to kind of siphon funds? Because I don't want to believe that they replace all these equipment, all these furnitures, every year. I don't want to believe that. But every year, every year in the budget, you see these line items. So governments actually, they can cut, if they want to cut the cost of governance, it is something that they can do. We have so many agencies and parastatals that you have that are really redundant. They can match these agencies together. They can match the parastatals together instead of having them separately. They can actually, you see how much government spend on traveling, on hospitality, on procurement. These are things that they can actually be strict. If they want to be disciplined when it comes to budgeting, they can actually be disciplined. It's left for them to say, oh yes, we want to do this. It's actually very, very doable for them. And when citizens say that, government is actually cutting the cost of governance, no matter how maybe harsh at the initial stage, any policy that government brings out, citizens will embrace it because it's not only affecting us, it's affecting everybody. And at the end of the day, we are going to benefit from it, really.
Absolutely true. I was just going to say to you that when you do not work hard for your money, you'll be changing cars every 3 months. You'll be changing cars every 6 months. Because even for ex-governors, have you seen their pension package where they are changing their cars every year, as if that you are here, you change cars every year. It makes no sense. As I said, if it is the willingness for the government, are they willing to want to even embrace things that would help our economy grow? They touched on boosting non-oil revenue sectors, right? Agriculture, manufacturing, technology. I don't know how far that is going, but every day I keep on seeing videos on go and register to export and all of that. I don't know how far that is going. But you see, one of the biggest drivers of any economy would be the businesses, right? The SMEs, right? And if we are intentional about the government, improving the business environment, making it really easy. So it's not just saying ease of doing business on paper, but ease of doing business in reality, the ease of doing business. How well do you think the government is performing in that sense? Because again, if we are trying to target where the money will come from, one of the biggest revenue generator would be public-private partnership, would also be foreign direct investments, into your country. So how well are we playing in that space? Is the government really making it easy for people to want to transact business in Nigeria?
For now, with the way the economy is, I would say a lot of businesses have collapsed in the past maybe 1-2 years. So I don't think government is actually functioning or performing well in that aspect. Governments need to improve the private sector confidence. I mean, they can actually, because the truth is that governments cannot actually thrive without the private sector. And that's just the truth. There's a whole lot of revenue that can actually come from the private sector. They need to ensure that the kind of policies that they will put in place are going to be policies that will actually, help businesses to grow. I mean, there is something called ease of doing business. So because if it's very difficult for investors to come and invest in the country, then how do governments get revenue from the private sector? They need to ensure that our policies are actually stable. Policy stability is very critical for businesses to grow, to thrive in the country. And they also need to ensure that, beyond looking at big businesses, all the small SMEs, they need to ensure that they actually invest in infrastructure that can actually lower the cost of doing businesses for these SMEs. The private sector is one sector that we can, really, really rely on to get huge revenue, but then government needs to put in their own works as well. If we keep bringing up policies that are not favorable to investors, nobody will want to come and invest or come and set up his or her business in the country.
Absolutely, I totally agree with you. So how do citizens engage? How do we, what do we do as citizens? Quickly, run us through them.
I would say the first thing is what we are doing now, talking about the budget. A lot of citizens don't even bother to, a lot of people don't even know that the budget document is available, right? So they need to actually ensure that they are enlightened, they have the knowledge, and they know that, this budget document is available, and it is my right to actually, take a look at it and ask questions. They need to, track the budget and ensure that whatever the government has said they want to do in the budget is what probably they are doing. Look at there's budget implementation reports that the government always release every quarter. But sadly, the last budget implementation report that was released was Q2 of 2024. So whatever that has happened in Q3, we don't know. Whatever has happened in Q4 of 2024, nobody has an idea. Yes, I understand that the 2024 budget is still, it's still being implemented till end of June, which is just barely a month now. But governments actually, when they release this budget implementation report, citizens need to ensure that they take a look at this report and see how well the government has performed. Another thing is also to, they need to engage their representatives. You need to understand that, yes, you see these our representatives, the legislatures, they come to our communities every 4 years when it's time for election, and after that you don't see them again. But citizens need to understand that beyond the election period, you need to engage your representatives every time. Attend town meetings, write letters and emails. You can always write letters and emails to your representatives to ask them questions. And if you take a look at the budget items and you feel like there's something you don't understand pertaining to your community, you can actually voice your opinion and ask questions. Also, participate in public consultations. Government agencies actually conduct public consultations when it comes to budget proposals. You need to be aware of these consultations. Actively participating in these consultations actually allow citizens to, provide input and also influence decision making to some extent. Yes, it's left for them at the end of the day to take your opinion, but you will know that you've tried your best in raising your voice and adding your voice to the budget to the budget proposal and decision making. Also, you can participate in, also there is public budget hearing. So when these budgets when they're trying to put the budget together, they do what they call public budget hearing, where they call in citizens to come and take a look at the budget, and, give your own input as well. So it's something you can do. You can form coalitions. I mean, it's not really good to work in isolations. We have so many civil society organizations that are trying hard to ensure that government hear the citizens' voice. They talk on behalf of the citizens, and so you can also form coalitions with these civil society organizations. Participate in you can join forces together with them to ensure that you call government to order. You ask questions. I mean, it's not. When we were in school, they would tell us that ask questions if you don't understand. So it's the same thing that you can always ask the government questions. If you see anything you don't understand, ask questions. If you see anything going on in your community, if there is probably a project that is being they're working on and they just abandon it, you can always reach
Ask
out to
why.
your representatives and ask questions. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And also, I would say the use of media to expose the irregularities. You can, the media is one powerful tool that has really, really helped us in this country, And social media is very powerful, so you can use it to disseminate any information, raise awareness about corruption and mismanagement of public funds. Maybe you've seen a project that you feel like, oh, what they are doing is not what, you might take a look at the budget line items and realize that what they said they would do is 5 kilometers of road, and what they've done is 2 kilometers of road. You can use social media to, raise the awareness about that corruption, and trust me, you will see a lot of citizens, a lot of civil society organizations that actually take it up and work towards it.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for your time. I was just going to say that to touch on just that changing of kitchen utensils every year, I think the ideal thing is that the government is supposed to have like a hospitality team within the government houses, right? I mean, just like the way hotels are being maintained, go and get trained professionals and let them manage your home. But, again, we still have that, what's it called, that superstitious part of us as a people, because I see no reason why a leader is leaving, but they still did it in the US too. When Obama, they cleared the White House because this one wants to bring his own furniture and everything. But that is when they are leaving after their 8-year tenure. But when you are there, it should not be every year you'll be buying those kinds of things. So we should start to even punch holes in those kinds of items within the budget. Let's even start to shout from there. Let's start to shout from there that it should be expunged. If you are going to be there for 8 years, what you bought in the first year, you can use it for 8 years. You don't have to replace it. If you have to replace it, use your own money, I think maybe we should start to call for those kinds of actions. But thank you so much, Adejo. It's always a pleasure, having you on the show. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
All right. So I would say for a call to action, visit shineyoureye.org to engage your elected officials. We always say this all the time. Budget has a tracker. They call it tracker to report abandoned or mismanaged projects. You can also share facts and figures on budget opacity on your social media and tag the relevant government agencies. Let them come and answer questions. Demand the government to publish a detailed revenue framework for the budget 2025. So how would they generate the budget? You see, these are the things that we should be fighting for. We shouldn't just be fighting blindly. Let's not be carried away by social media or anything. Let's ask the right questions. We must also attend public consultations, like Adejoke had said, to demand that our voices be heard when there is a budget planning. So, the 2025 national budget may be Nigeria's largest yet, in case you did not know. But its size means little without clarity. And of course, without credibility, and of course, without accountability. So citizens must stay alert. They must ask the hard questions. They must ensure that public funds are not only raised responsibly, but also spent in ways that benefit the people. So we must understand that as citizens, we have an office, and it is called the Office of the Citizen, and it's a very powerful office. We must start to intentionally occupy that office and ask questions. You thought social media was not big until the likes of Very Dark Man, the likes of Mr. Macaroni, and all of those people that have gone on social media, and they have really advocated for something that drew the attention, even the likes of the young girl, Ray. right? So that is why it is so powerful. You never can tell what content would go viral. Your job is to continue to push it out there. Don't be quiet about it. Your office as the office of the citizen is the most powerful office in any, nation, in any nation all across the world. So we need to intentionally start to occupy our office, and let's not relegate our roles and responsibility, right? Let's not do that, because if we truly want to see a better Nigeria, then we must be engaged as citizens. I'll leave it here. Thank you so much for watching. And thank you again to Adejoke, my guest for the evening. So before I go, ensure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. This is our platform to continue to share, the things that are important. So you subscribing means that you are supporting the brand. You sharing means you are supporting the brand. You are helping us to grow, to reach more people, to educate more people, and to get more people to act, right? So it's important that you like, you share, invite your families and friends to watch and follow the conversation, right? So if you missed this very important quote for today, it says, transparency is not a favor. They're not doing you a favor, right? It's not a favor to citizens. It is a constitutional and moral obligation of the government. You must understand this. Government is not doing a favor by answering your question as to where the revenue is going to come from, as to how they have spent our money. So let's start to intentionally engage the government. We'll see you tomorrow at 8 p.m. Enjoy the rest of your evening.
Nigeria, by extension, Africa, battles a growing youthful population, and with little or no meaningful engagement, lives a ticking time bomb on our hands. We are a blessed continent with great wealth, both in people and material. Our focus on ways remains driving conversations that affects us all. Topics in the news, social concerns, politics, leadership, governance, empowerment, resource management, conflict management, finance, SME sustainability, technological innovation, food security, health, education, brain drain, our well-being, citizenship, and much more. Our goal is to continuously drive these conversations, keep them burning at the table to effect a positive change, both for our nation and continent. Ways, what are you saying, has a secret ingredient that completes the conversation every single episode, and that ingredient is you. Our past conversations shaped our yesterday. To shape our tomorrow, we must keep talking. So, I want to hear you. Be a part of our live conversations Mondays through Fridays. And let's all have our say.